Imagine this. A world-famous martial arts champion, known for his flawless techniques, decides to challenge a royal guard outside Buckingham Palace. He's confident it'll be an easy win. But the moment his foot connects, everything he thought he knew about combat is turned upside down. What happens next will leave you speechless. This is the story of arrogance, discipline, and the shocking truth behind the Queen's Guard. Before we dive into this incredible story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Also, don't forget to check out our second channel, Guard Patrol, linked in the pinned comments. We upload daily at the same time on both channels, so make sure to subscribe to both and never miss a powerful story like this one. It was a crisp morning in London, and the sun glinted off the brass buttons of Guard Liam, Pritchard's immaculate scarlet tunic, as he stood motionless outside Buckingham Palace. His bearskin cap cast a shadow over his eyes, but nothing could hide his perfect military posture, a result of 8 years in Her Majesty's Armed Forces, including 3 combat tours. Tourists snapped photos, completely unaware of the man behind the uniform. Among the crowd was Johnny Lawrence, a 34-year-old martial arts champion with a reputation that preceded him. With 5 international championships, a chain of dojos across California and Nevada, and millions of social media followers, Johnny was known as the surgeon for his precise techniques. His entourage of 4 training partners followed closely, all wearing matching black tracksuits with the emblem of Lawrence Combat Systems. Each of them was a champion in their own right, but none matched Johnny's celebrity status. Johnny's voice cut through the crowd like a knife. "Is that supposed to be intimidating?" he said, adjusting his championship belt slung over his shoulder. The gold medallions caught the light as he sauntered toward the guard, standing still like a statue. "That's not how real fighters operate." He circled Pritchard like a shark, analyzing his stance with a critical eye. "Look at this," he announced to the crowd. "Completely exposed. No center of gravity. Any decent fighter would have him on the ground in seconds." Johnny demonstrated a fighting stance, bent, hands raised in a practiced guard position. The contrast between his fluid movements and Pritchard's ceremonial stillness couldn't have been starker. Pritchard remained motionless, his eyes fixed forward as protocol demanded. But behind that disciplined stare, years of special reconnaissance training were already at work. He had assessed Johnny's movements, noted the positions of his entourage, and identified potential escape routes just in case. "Hey, take my picture with the mannequin," Johnny called to one of his companions. He mimicked Pritchard's stance before breaking into an exaggerated martial arts pose. "See the difference? One is just standing there. The other is ready for anything." The crowd murmured uncomfortably. A mother from Spain quietly ushered her children away, while several British onlookers exchanged disapproving glances. Among them stood Colonel James Harrington, a retired Royal Marine with 30 years of service. His weathered face hardened as he watched Johnny's display. "Bet you 10 quid I can make him move," Johnny said to his entourage, his voice loud enough to draw more attention. "These guys are trained to be furniture, not fighters." A palace staff member approached cautiously. "Sir, please maintain a respectful distance from the Queen's Guard." Johnny turned with exaggerated surprise. "I'm just giving the tourists a free demonstration, showing them the difference between ceremonial posturing and actual combat readiness." He executed a rapid series of punches that stopped just short of Pritchard's face. "See, a real fighter is always ready, always moving, always aware of his surroundings." The staff member looked increasingly uncomfortable. "Nevertheless, I must ask you to step back." "Fine, fine," Johnny said, raising his hands in mock surrender. But he turned back to his entourage. "Seriously, guys, this is what happens when military training prioritizes looking good over being effective. This guy wouldn't last 30 seconds in a real fight. Colonel Harrington had seen enough. He stepped forward, his bearing unmistakably military despite his civilian clothes. "Young man," he said with quiet authority, "I suggest you reconsider your demonstration. The Queen's Guard are not what you seem to think they are." Johnny sized up the older man. "No disrespect to your traditions, sir," he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "But there's a reason why championship fighters train with me and not with the British Army. Different leagues entirely." A new figure emerged from the crowd. Major Robert Blackwood. Unlike Colonel Harrington, he wore no visible indicators of his military background, but his bearing spoke volumes. "Mr. Lawrence," he said, addressing Johnny directly, "I believe you're operating under several misconceptions about the man you're currently taunting." Johnny turned, sizing up the newcomer. "Another military man, I'm guessing. Look, I respect your service, but what I'm demonstrating here is the reality of modern combat effectiveness." Major Blackwood nodded slightly. Guard Pritchard served with the Special Reconnaissance Regiment before his rotation to ceremonial duty. 2 tours in Afghanistan, 1 in Syria. His ceremonial position is a rotating assignment, not his primary function. A flicker of uncertainty crossed Johnny's face, but he quickly masked it. "With all due respect, that doesn't change the fundamental limitations of military combat training compared to specialized martial arts." Blackwood's expression hardened. "The Queen's Guard aren't selected for ceremonial duty because they look good in the uniform, Mr. Lawrence. They're selected because they've demonstrated exceptional service in active combat roles. The young man you're attempting to provoke has more confirmed combat operations than most active Special Forces operators." Johnny's confidence wavered, but his stubbornness took over. "I respect your concern," he said, "but I think you're exaggerating the gap between ceremonial duty and actual combat effectiveness. My demonstration will make that clear to everyone watching." Major Blackwood studied him for a moment, then nodded. "I've said my piece. What happens next is your decision." Johnny turned back to the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a practical demonstration. Theory is important, but nothing teaches like direct experience." Despite warnings from his entourage and the growing tension, Johnny launched into a perfect leg sweep aimed at Pritchard's ankles. But instead of toppling the guard, Johnny's shin connected with what felt like reinforced concrete. The impact sent a shock of pain radiating up his leg. Before Johnny could react, Pritchard moved with lightning speed. In less than 2 seconds, Johnny was on the ground, immobilized in a restrained position. The crowd gasped as Pritchard spoke for the first time. "Remain still. Palace security is approaching." As security officers took control of the scene, Major Blackwood addressed the stunned onlookers. "What you've just witnessed was not part of any scheduled demonstration. Guard Pritchard temporarily suspended ceremonial protocol to address a physical threat. The Queen's Guard are authorized to respond when directly assaulted." Colonel Harrington added, "Guard Pritchard, like all members of the Queen's Guard, is an active duty soldier. Before wearing this uniform, he served with one of Britain's most elite Special Forces units. The ceremonial stillness you see is not an indication of limited capability, but rather a demonstration of exceptional discipline." 2 days later, Johnny sat in an interview room at the Palace Security Office, his leg bandaged and his confidence shattered. Guard Pritchard entered, now in standard military dress. "I wanted to apologize properly," Johnny said. "What I did was completely out of line." Pritchard accepted the apology with professional courtesy. "Your techniques are more elegant," he said, "but ours are tested in environments without referees or scorecards. Different training for different purposes." Johnny nodded, humbled. "I've learned a valuable lesson about making assumptions. Thank you for not doing more damage than you did." Pritchard shook his hand. "Proportional response. another military principle that serves well in many contexts. If this story taught you something new about the Royal Guards, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories that reveal the truth behind ceremonial traditions. Don't forget to tap the bell icon so you never miss our daily uploads. Check out our previous videos appearing on your screen right now. And remember to visit our second channel, Guard Patrol, linked in the pinned comments. We upload daily at the same time on both channels, bringing you stories that go beyond the surface of military tradition. We'll see you again tomorrow at the same time with another brand new video that challenges preconceptions and honors those who serve.